from BookTube. This is Jackie from Jackie's Literary Corner. So I already had filmed this video twice yesterday because I got interrupted. Well, actually the first time I didn't like how what I was saying in that video, so I wanted to redo it, but then the second time I was interrupted. So, and now I decided to redo it. I was hoping to narrow down my list because of course I gave myself a bunch of options for this video because this will be a TBR video for November, even though I've said multiple times that I really should not do TBRs. The problem is I like the idea of planning and picking my options. Like, it gets me really excited, especially when I watch someone else planning their TBR. Like, yesterday morning I watched Oliver and Book Olive and her TBR because this is Nonfiction November will be coming up, and this is her last year doing Nonfiction November, which makes me a little sad. But she was doing her TBR for that, so that got me excited and wanting to do my TBR for November, whether included nonfiction books or not. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you all the options of the books. So I did narrow down a tiny bit. I did take some books off of here and said I'm going to save them for December. But not a lot. I mean, not that I had, it's still a relatively small pile compared to other times I've done this. But I'm also going to this is also going to be kind of an update video and also a book haul because yesterday I did do the other purpose for the video was to show you 3 books I bought because that's what happens when you have a bookstore within walking distance that's a used bookstore. That you can go there. I can go there whenever I have a day off. Unless we have errands to run or some other plans. Anyway, so let's kind of update you guys on my reading. I just literally finished my filming of The Woman in White review. I haven't posted a written review yet, so I'm going to do that soon. Probably be easier to do that than a review of Fire and Blood. Because epic fantasies, especially when there's a lot of characters and there's a lot of plot going on, I very much struggle with reviewing because there's so much going on and it's hard to pinpoint everything that I like and see if there's anything that I dislike about it. And because I'm a very easy to please person, like unless there's just something really bad, or just not my thing at all, and I was just trying the book, it's hard for me to find stuff I don't like, which I guess maybe it's hard to believe, I don't know, but I always say I'm easy to please. I mean, not always, but, and if there is something, sometimes it's just hard for me to figure out what it is that I don't like. So, yeah, that's as far as books finished. Before I show you the physical books, I also am currently reading it's not an October read, but for my more witchy theme for October, is the spell book of Katrina Van Tassel, which is the story of Sleepy Hollow from Katrina's point of view. And in the prologue, it does mention that she is using this as a way to correct Washington Ivory's story because he got things wrong. It focuses more on the romance, and Katrina does come off as a little bit younger in this one. She's much more focused on the romance and on her love, on her love that she develops for Ichabod. There's a lot more focus on that in this version, and she seems a lot younger. In adaptations I've seen, she seems more mature and older. Like the Sleepy Hollow show that was on Fox, and then the Tim Burton adaptation. She seems a little bit more mature. I mean, even the Are You Afraid of the Dark version, she was a teenager, she seems more mature. But then again, she is more free as a modern day teenager in the 90s. So she has the freedom, so she can still be, and also when I was looking at a 1-star review of the book, just to see how this person felt, why they gave it a 1 star, which, I read and I disagree with the person said, but I was still curious, and they were talking about how one of the another thing that people might not like is that might have question is that Ichabod's character is different. He's more likable, but I do feel like a lot of adaptations make him likable and kind of change him a little bit, because in the original story, he just cares about money and he's a little more greedy and not much different than Brom, except for he's not as pretty. He's not as good looking or, or strong and everything. He's just, a skinny school teacher, very academically driven, and they do keep the school teacher thing and the smart thing and obviously the academic thing, but they make him more charming and just more likable. And then of course he's played by Johnny Depp in the Tim Burton version, so he's more likable. And the actor who played him in the Fox TV show, which takes an even, focuses more, the Fox TV show focused a lot more on the American Revolution and connected the story even more so to that. Because in the original novel, he is a Hessian, a German soldier that is really takes pleasure in slicing and dicing. So yeah, he was a soldier during the American Revolution, but the events of the story take place after the American Revolution, and I think, and but in this one, in that show, like, we go back and forth between the American Revolution and modern day, because one of the unique spins of that version is that Ichabod is put into a sleep and wakes up in modern day. So he is recalling, because he makes friends with this female police officer who helps him, and he's telling her about his past as a soldier in the Revolution. So we get a lot of flashbacks of that in his relationship with his wife, Katrina. Because in that version, he's married to Katrina. But like I said, this one focuses more on them falling in love. And now, I don't know, I'm curious if she's gonna become a witch in this one. Because in that show, she's a witch. But in this, it's hinted at that her friend is the witch. So I don't know if that means she's going to become... Now, the Tim Burton movie also, she's a witch. So I don't know if she's going to become one in this story. And which is funny, because in the comment section on that 1-star review, of people who, agree with that review and everything, one of them said that they suspected there was more to Katrina than meets the eye in the original story. Which I don't know, it's been a little while since I read it, like a year. But I remember her being not, just another woman that was very pretty and liked getting nice things and maybe flirted with both of them. I might be misremembering that, but maybe there was more to her character, because it's just funny that those two adaptations have her be a witch. And in this one, it is implied that there is witchcraft involved. But I don't know if she's going to be the witch. Or become a witch. And they do discuss it, because of the time period, people, were superstitious more and afraid of witches and everything. So maybe that's why in these adaptations there's always reference to, witchcraft and all that. But anyway. So yeah, I personally am liking it. I'm enjoying it. It's fun. The romance is very sweet. That's what we've got of it so far. And like other versions, Brom is an ass. Just can't stand him. And in the story, I didn't like him either. So I'm fine with them, making Ichabod more likable and in these versions making Ichabod more likable and more of a worthy love interest. But the writing still seems very young. I mean, it seems to me very YA. So I don't know if this book is considered a YA or not. I'll have to look on Goodreads if people classify this as a young adult, because it does feel very young adult-y. Although there is some mature content in there. Yeah, so maybe it's not considered young adult, because or at least maybe it's new adult. I don't know. I would probably, it feels like it's written like a young adult, but it's probably if they would actually have the category new adult, it would be labeled new adult. Because there is still mature content. So maybe that means it's not young adult. It just feels young adult in some other ways. But anyway, so that's what I'm reading on my Kindle. After that, I'll probably read The Omen. And I have a standalone fantasy. Actually, I'll probably get to that in November. I would probably come back to that in November. But then we have The Omen as well as Blackwater. Although Blackwater is gonna be a longer read because it's the whole story in one big book. But what I'm trying to do, what I've decided is that I'm gonna make sure I read as many books out of as many of the ones that I bought on my Kindle before I buy another Kindle book. That's what I've decided. Because I wanted to buy The Exorcist. I was very tempted to get that, but I'm gonna wait on that and come back to it. And I don't know if I'll wait when I do get it. I don't know if I'll wait until next year to read it or just might read in November. I'm not sure, but we will see. We will see what I decide when I get it. Anyway, so here's all the physical books I'm reading. So first I'm reading The Once and Future Witches. And this is good because when I filmed this yesterday, I hadn't gone very far, so now I've gone a lot farther in it. I'm on chapter 16. So I've read a good chunk since yesterday. So it's set in the, I think, 1800 or like whenever, or no, actually, I guess the 1900s, because I think the suffragette movement was in the 1900s. So the Gilded Age. And you have these three sisters, Juniper, or James Juniper, and Beatrice, and Belladonna, and Agnes Amarantha. They are three sisters. Their mom died when Juniper was born. She died giving birth, so they were living with their grandmother, Mags, and their abusive father. And what ends up happening is the two older sisters eventually are forced to leave their baby sister with their abusive dad. So that leaves Juniper very hurt and very angry. And something also happens between Bella, Beatrice, and Agnes. And so they haven't seen each other in years, and they are reunited when some weird magic supernatural phenomenon happens where they see some mysterious tower and in the middle of nowhere, and they are all three of them are drawn to it. And of course this is during the suffragette movement, and Juniper wants to get involved with it while Agnes and Beatrice are trying to stay away from it, but then the magic is pulling them, and they both have to admit they want to know what's going on too about this tower. And Juniper is all about bringing magic back to the world because she wants justice for women, and she believes having power, real power, could help protect them from men. And she gets some of the women from the suffragette movement involved, and it's just a lot. Shit is probably gonna go down because there are some evil forces at work here. And so far, I am really enjoying this. This is really fun. It focuses on women's rights, so it's definitely, if you're, it's definitely women that are feminine, definitely a feminist work, but also through the eyes of magic. So it's a witchy book as well. Which I feel like those witches and, fighting for women's rights have, they're perfect together. They're a perfect combination. Because their goals are the same thing. Because people, yes, there are villainous witches implied in the story, but they're also good witches too, like, in the story as well. And these sisters are just angry and want justice, and they want power to protect themselves. So it's very much exploring that idea of how people see witchcraft as, as evil, and then you have, like, but I think I'm trying to think. I know that I don't know much about Wiccan as a religion, but I do believe there's a difference between, like, witches that are, truly devil worshippers, and then there's also those who practice it, but it's not about the devil, it's about Mother Earth, and they're not evildoers. But I don't remember, I remember watching Sam from Thoughts on Tomes. She has 2 channels now. She has one that focuses on Wicca, and then one that focuses on her reading, and she did explain that there is a difference in what she herself is. But I don't remember all that, unfortunately. So you got all 3 of these girls are very different. Agnes is you have Juniper probably is the strongest personality because she is so angry and wants justice and is so snarky, and she's a fighter, and she's very feisty, and just, you don't want to mess with her, and kind of crazy, kind of, a little bit very emotional, uses anger to fuel her. And then you have her 2 older sisters, Agnes, who's kind of more cautious, which I feel like that a lot of times you do have the middle sister. If there's 3 sisters, you have the one in the middle who's the more cautious one, who tries to be, sensible and practical, and does what she can to protect the family and protect herself. In this case, you find out that Agnes is pregnant, so she has to protect her this life inside of her. So she struggles with doing the right thing, do I fight back, or is it safer to fight? Is it safer to hide and not, just stay safe? I mean, stay on the sidelines and not take action, not take drastic actions, or is it better to, fight back and, risk everything? And then you have the older sister, Beatrice, who's just, she's also trying to do the right thing and, be the leader, and she wants to rebel so bad and live her own life, but her responsibilities as the older one won't let her, so she always has to hide who she is. But it's funny, they both kind of share the responsibility of protecting the family, because Agnes is the caretaker, and while Beatrice is kind of the provider, the leader. Although Juniper kind of takes a leadership position, but on accident. She didn't mean to. She's just the one spurring everybody and getting, spurring everybody on the charge and giving the speeches about fighting, encouraging everyone to fight back. And she's the one taking actions. She's the warrior. The tarot card scene was really fun. There's a tarot card scene where one of the characters gets her future read. And it's funny because I'm currently watching Agatha all along, which is about witches, and there's stuff in this book that, also was referenced on that show. So it was like, oh, I know what that is. When they mentioned the Tower card, or, or the swords, they, on the show, in New Rockstars mention the tarot cards and everything, so that was kind of cool. Cool to be reading that and then mentioning that, because I was going with the witch theme, but sometimes witches don't reference details about Wiccan, about Wicca, on a show, because we're focused on the cool stuff, on the stuff like the magic and all that, and the action and the adventure and all that. They don't always focus on the details of, Wicca and everything. But I'm enjoying this. I really like the cover. I think it's so pretty. But nice. So, and this cover makes me think of, I wish I could remember I wish I had kept it. There was another book that I think it was about witches set during the Revolution or something. It also made me think of, it was also about witches, and I can picture the cover, but I can't describe it. It had a parchment paper look to it, and it had inked cursive for the title and stuff. Psychic Books of Deliverance Dane. Oh my god, that just popped in my head. That's what the book is called. The Psychic Book of Deliverance Dane. I need to look it up. That cover made me think of that. This cover made me think of that book. And I think that was also about witches. And more like the actual time of, the witch trials and the crucible and all that. I wish I kept that because I love that book. I really enjoyed that, but I figured I'll let it go and all that. And I hate on that when I feel like, I should make a decision to let some books go, and then I let a book go that I end up regretting later. But yeah, the cover made me think of that. I should tell Larissa about that book. I don't know if I gave it to her, or I might have actually given it to her. Because I gave a lot of my books before we moved to her. So I'll have to ask her. But it's funny, the title, that doesn't always happen, but it just, it popped in my head, thankfully. The Psychic Book of Deliverance Dane. And I think it was one of those books where you had dual timelines. Like, characters went back and forth. Anyway, okay, so, I also am hoping to read Anthony Trollope's The Framley Parsonage. And I did start that. I read the first couple pages yesterday. So after I'm done filming, I want to read a little bit more of that. Before it gets too late, because I gotta go back to work tomorrow, and I want to, get into that book and read a few chapters of that one before the day's over. And then we have, I was hoping to get to this one, The Book of Lost Things, but it might have to wait until November, which I have a lot of options for November that I want to read. But this feels just very autumnal. It's a very whimsical book by the description. And there's a sequel to it where this one, the main character is a little boy, and then that one, the main character is a girl, and there's a magical book of lost things involved, and there's another world and everything. So it felt very autumnal. So I don't know if I'll get to that or not. I might not get to it in October. We will see. But I want to attempt to read at least one other Victorian novel before the end of the month. And that's coming up. Okay, so let me do the book haul real quick, and then I'll show you my options for November. Okay, so first we have, of course, I stuck to 3 books. Once again, there was a possibility of 4 books, but I stuck to 3. So first we have A Death in Venice and 7 Other Stories by Thomas Mann. Now, I do have his book, Buddenbrooks, which is a family saga story, and I did read the first chapter of that one. So I kept seeing this one at the roast off at the Gibbons, and I kept thinking about, possibly getting it, but I kept putting it back and not getting it. Well, it was there again, so I figured let me go ahead and grab it. And I don't remember if it was a book that was ever bought and then maybe returned because the person decided not to keep it, which that'd be interesting. That's fate, if that is what happened. Either that or it just never got bought. No one ever bought it. But anyway, so I didn't know this Death in Venice was a shorter work, that it could be in a collection of stories. But I guess it is. Which, I really like this cover, too. I think it looks very much artsy. So, I don't know a lot about this author, except for that he is a German author. And the back description does not really explain what these stories are about, which is really annoying. It's so annoying when classic books, the back description just spends the whole time being like, this is such a brilliant story, this is so great, it has such an impact, it's awesome, and oh, the author is so great, and it's, has done so much for the world and everything, and like all these stories are different and blah blah blah, and it's like, okay, well, what are these about? What are these stories about? That's what I want to know. But no, it does not say that. But anyway, so it's good that this is shorter works by the author. Let me see. I wonder if it has a table of contents. Okay, so Death in Venice. Okay, so It starts on page 3 and ends on page 75. So so 770 or 71, 70 or 71 pages, I'm guessing. But anyway, I will look forward to reading that at some point. Okay, and then we have, so I got a nonfiction book. It was between this one and another one, nonfiction wise. And we have The Founding Mothers, The Woman Who Raised Our Nation by Cokie Roberts. I don't know if I'm saying her name right or not. But it was this one or a book on the Revolution in general. I decided, I'm going to get this one instead because, as the description points out, we do not have a lot of knowledge on these women unless we're reading the biography of certain founding fathers. Then we'll get bits and pieces about their wives and daughters and sisters and all that. But other than that, we don't ever focus only on them. We just get a little bit of focus on them. And I feel this book is going to focus on the females of the revolution, the women, the mothers and the daughters and the sisters of these founding fathers. The only one I recognize is Abigail Adams because this is a portrait of her that I've seen before on my John Adams biography by David McCullough, and that one, and then also I have letters from John and Abigail Adams. So this is the only one I know it's her. Now I don't know if she's gonna be in here, but I really hope they have at least a little bit on Eliza Hamilton, because I feel like she deserves a chapter or some information about her. Because she's a very strong woman, and like Abigail, put up with a lot of crap. Particularly for her husband. While Abigail was more, she just had to take care of the kids, and they all got smallpox. And she had to stay strong, but her husband loved her, and they had a good relationship. Hamilton and his wife, their relationship got shook up a little bit. But anyway, so if any of you know who these other two women are, I would love to know. But yeah, I think this will be good to read about the founding mothers, the women of the American Revolution, because you don't hear a lot about them. So there's that. And then the last book is one. So this is an author another one where I keep picking up this author's books, and then decide I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to buy it. And that's Kate Atkinson. So I kept seeing, I had seen this book here before, but at the time I decided not to get it. And then I kept seeing the sequel to this one. And I kept thinking, should I buy it? Can I get away with buying it and not reading the first book? So I wasn't sure about that, and I was like, and I just let me wait and see if the other one ever shows up there. And shows up back again, and it did. And from all I know about this, it's about this woman who dies and comes back. She keeps getting reincarnated. And the sequel is about her brother. And that's called A God in Ruins. And I did see, while I was there, I did see her other book, Transcription. But, she lives in Edinburgh. I did not know that. But so I finally was like, let me just buy this and check it out. Because a lot of people there's a lot of authors who really love her. Like Carl Anderson talks about her a lot. So he also talks about Joyce Carol Oates too. That's another one of those authors, and I keep thinking about it, and I keep attempting to buy her books, but then I always end up changing my mind. I did have one of her books once, so I don't want that to happen with this one, where I end up not attempting to read it and then putting it away, and then deciding later that I'm not going to keep it. So I want to read this, and I might read it soon, coming up. I don't know, but that could also be me being tempted because it's new and shiny and I just bought it. So, that's that. Life After Life. So those are the books that I hauled recently. Oh, and also, they do have these free bookmarks that were made by people at the bookstore at Gibbons, And it was between this one and one with a turtle. But the one with the turtle, that didn't look like it was made by them. That looked like one you could buy at like a museum or something. So I put that back, even though I like the turtle. And just wanted to get a more autumnal one, so I bought this, which has spiders on it. And spider webs. Which I can always give this to Harrison. But instead of throwing away these paper bookmarks. But, I don't know, because, you know, he might, even though, you know, he's 9 now, so he's a little more, but still, he might accidentally lose them or something, or they might get ruined, so, by, like, one of his siblings, but, you know, that is a possibility of giving them to him, instead of wasting them and throwing them away, but he also doesn't have, he has big books, a lot of physically big books, so the problem is bookmarks this size can easily get lost in those. But yeah, we will see. Anyway, but yeah, I think I like this one better than the other one, so I'm glad I decided to get that one. Although I was worried that when I came back that they would notice and they'd be like, you can't do that. But it's also, but then maybe not, because they're just silly pieces of paper. They're just silly bookmarks, so, anyway, okay, now let's get to the TBR options. So first I tried to divide it up into piles. I have the pile of books that I have a better chance of reading and getting through them, and then I have the pile of books that I want to, but I probably won't get through them, and then, which is the biggest pile. And then I have the pile of books that I probably will not finish. I'm pretty sure I won't finish at all. But I could start them in November. So first, like I said, it is nonfiction November. So I went ahead and grabbed, well, my main intention is to read The Rubicon, The Triumph of Rome, the Triumph and Tragedy of Rome and Republic by Tom Holland. Not the actor kid, but I don't know anything about him. I never read his work. I only know the name Tom Holland, the actor. But I don't know this Tom Holland. But anyway, so this is about, as it says, the triumph and tragedy of the Roman Republic. And I remember the first time I heard the term Rubicon was in 1776. The final song that John Adams sings at the end, where he's getting frustrated and he's like, why won't people see what I see, the freedom of America and how, you know, the future of America and us being like free and independent. And there's a lyric where he sings, I've crossed the Rubicon, let the bridge be burned behind me, come what may, come what may. So I always was curious what the Rubicon was, and it's a reference to Rome, and I think Julius Caesar. But like I said, a couple years ago, I got really interested in learning more about Rome, and so I've been slowly over time reading more and more books about Rome that are connected to Rome. Like earlier this year, I read Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, and I think he's a Roman. I think so. Unless he's a Greek. I don't know. I can't remember. But I did read that. That was really good. I did put in the donation pile. I don't know if that was I think that was one of the books I returned to Gibbons. I donated back to Gibbons, because that's where I got it in the first place. Because it's like, you know, I liked it, and I think it's a good philosophies to live by for some things. Some of it, not everything, but I didn't plan on reading it again. Anyway, so I figured let me go ahead to, you know, read this one this month for my nonfiction. And I do definitely want to participate this year, especially since this is her last one. Which makes me sad. Like I said, that makes me kind of sad. Okay, and then I went ahead and grabbed a shorter work that I got last Christmas. And that is Robin Williams by Ziggy Watson. This is a biography on the late Robin Williams. May he rest in peace. He was an actor. He definitely made me sad when he died. And actually, weeks ago, there was a post when Maggie Smith died on Instagram referring to when they were both on the movie Hook, where he played an older Peter Pan who came to our world and grew up. and married Wendy's granddaughter. And Wendy's an old lady. She grew up, and he has been in America, and he comes home and he comes to see her, and she's like, "It's been 10 years since we last saw each other." And apparently, according to that post, it's been 10 years since Ron Williams died. So it was kind of a reference to that, and it's a bittersweet reference. So I was thinking about him again, and I put this one in another Ron Williams biography on my list on Amazon, and Terry got it for me. So I decided, let me go ahead and read it. Plus, it's shorter, which I was surprised when I got it. It was not that long and not that big of a biography, because you would think his biography on Robin Williams would be longer, but I don't know, maybe there's not a lot you can find out about him personally. But anyway, and besides the fact most of these celebrities now you can find a lot about them on the internet, which is a mix of sad and sad, basically, that their whole life is on the internet pretty much. But yeah, I figured this would be good as well. It's not a long one, and I've always wanted to read a biography. So those are my 2 nonfiction reads that I'm definitely going to look into for Nonfiction November. And actually, I was looking at the Founding Mothers book and thinking maybe I could read that for Nonfiction November. But like I said, I have a lot of other options for November that I want to read that aren't nonfiction. Which is always the problem. That's the problem with me readathons, is that are month long. Even though I appreciate that they're a month long, sometimes I have other types of books I would normally read that month. Okay, so next 2 are, first we have My Death by Lisa Tuttle. This is a classic I am unfamiliar with, and this is a novella about this woman, this writer, who is kind of having writer's block. She's out of ideas, and she's being pressured by her agent, and then let me see, her husband has left her as well, and her agent has asked her to come to Edinburgh, and she gets inspired to write a biography on this woman named Helen Ralston, who was the subject of this painting and also the inspiration for a children's book. And she decides to write her biography. So it just and I remember when I bought it, the premise just sounded so interesting, so intriguing. And it kind of made me think of the 13th Tale a little bit, with the premise of the main character also being a writer and, being summoned to write the biography of this mysterious woman, this mysterious author who wrote a children's stories, a collection of fairy tales, and she's interviewing her to write her biography. Well, it's kind of similar, except for the fact that she's not interviewing Helen Ralston, but she's still writing the biography of this woman who probably has a mysterious life that she doesn't talk about. Anyway, and it's still not that long. It's about, it's only 105 pages, so it's not even at the, just barely over 100 pages. So I thought I would, this would be another one to check out for this month. That I would prompt is one of the, definitely with that length I could easily get it done. And then I went ahead and I also bought this, the same, not too long after I bought that book, My Death. This is Plays by Anton Chekhov. I've always wanted to read some Chekhov, and like Caroline Marie Rees has talked about him and reading his work. And another time I heard about him was because I had read this other book that was kind of inspired by one of the plays, The Cherry Orchard. I cannot remember The Orchard. That's what it's called. I don't remember the author's name, but it is a Russian author, and they wrote a novel about this family who has an apple orchard, and they're reading The Cherry Orchard in the novel. So that's the only reason why I had Chekhov in the back of my mind. And I saw this one, and this has The Cherry Orchard in it, but also has The Single as well, which is another one that I heard of. And this is Ivanova, Uncle Vanya, three sisters, as well as The Cherry Orchard and The Seagull. So I figured, and they're plays, so why not? The fact that they're plays, it shouldn't be super long reads. So there is that one as well. And then we have The Cloisters, which I got this a while back at Walmart. This is about a woman who thinks that she's gonna get a job as a curator at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Instead, she ends up as part of the Cloisters, a medieval art museum, where she ends up studying tarot, and then becomes so obsessed that it might potentially put her in danger, and a lot of weird stuff might be going on. And there might be a mystery, I'm assuming. But anyway, this premise just sounds so intriguing. I remember hearing about it on BookTube. Some like Reagan from Peruse Projects or someone had read this, I think. But yeah, it's not that long. I mean, it's not as short as some of these other ones, like My Death and all that. But I figure I have a better chance of getting this one done. Actually, this one I might have gotten at Gibbons. I don't know. I can't remember if I got this at Gibbons or Walmart. Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to find. Well, not counting the acknowledgements, which is 311 pages. Oh, okay, I'm trying to find, okay, so, I think, 297, I think, where, the story ends, where the novel ends, is page 297. And then, I got 2 more books that are short and that I probably have a chance of getting done. And that is next we have Son of the Witch, which is the sequel to Wicked. I've read Wicked, Son of a Witch, and Lion Among Men, but I never did read the last book. And I figured, let me just start from the beginning and reread Wicked. And I bought all the books over time, and I gave my original 3 novels to Larissa before we moved, and then I ended up rebuying the other ones. So I've read, and she's read earlier this year. She read Son of a Witch, and I kept saying that I would read it next too, so we can talk about. But I never got around to it. So finally, I want to read it in November. And like I said, this is about Elpha's potential son, illegitimate son, Lear, and his life, and him wanting to track down his mother and find out what happened to her and find out if she's still alive. And I don't know if he does or not. I can't remember. But I did read it along with the other one as well. Which really, I always love these covers. With this, and then, which I almost wish I had my original copy of Wicked, or the cover of my original, or a copy like my original one. But I don't actually have it. Not the copy that was sold at Gibbons was the one with the cover from the play, from the stage show. So that's the one I have, which I guess is fine, but I just really love these covers. And actually, there's a new edition of them, and I'm guessing that they decided to put out new editions with fancy covers, since they're finally making the movie's going to be coming out next month, actually. I just realized it's coming out next month. I think around Thanksgiving. And And they probably want to do that before they have a movie tie-in edition coming out. So I feel like when they adapt one, that's always an excuse to just republish them. And then there's also, the other reason I think why you might have multiple editions is because they have all these subscription boxes that have the really nice fancy covers, which I would love to buy one of those, but it's a lot of money, I think. And some of those subscription boxes have a bunch of stuff in there that I might not use and might just get thrown away. So, I just want it for the cover. I would just want it for the book, the book and its aesthetic. But then I just don't. I feel guilty about having multiple copies because I don't have the space. So there's that one. And the last book that I think that's a shorter book that I think is actually a booktuber's book, Katie Lumsden's The Secrets of Heartwood Hall, which she published a couple years ago, and she just recently came out with a new book, The Trouble with Miss Montgomery Hearst, which is on my Amazon wish list. But this is kind of inspired by a lot of gothic mysteries and kind of like Jane Eyre and stuff. So I was going to read it for Victober, but I don't know if I'll get around to it, so I'm saving it to potentially read in November. I'm excited to finally have it, and hopefully I will get The Trouble with Miss Montgomery Hearst for Christmas. But there is that. So those are the ones that I think I have a chance of getting done. Okay, so now let me quickly go through the other ones that, the next pile, which is the biggest one, which is the one that, I have a good chance of making a lot of progress in them. First we have, that I just really want to read. First we have The Mummy or Ramesses the Damned by Anne Rice. May she rest in peace. And this is, obviously, about a mummy instead of vampires or witches. And, I feel like this is one that potentially my friend Terry could like. I'm not sure. But maybe she would. It depends on the character. Probably like the Ramesses depends on if he's her type of character. But this is another one of those situations where it's a shorter work by an author, and I go back and forth between finishing the work of hers that I already started and reading the shorter work by them first before I go back to that one. Which, that one would be perfect for my theme for the month, but it would just take too long for me to read. And I did watch the first season of the show, and that is The Mayfair Witches, and that's a much longer book. So I'm like, maybe I should get to this one first, and then come back to that one. But yeah, so, like vampires, this guy is immortal. I don't know if he's a vampire or not, and I don't know if there's any connections between... I don't know if he crossed paths with Lestat or Louis Deloc, or one of the Mayfair Witches. But according to the back description, he gets the elixir of life. So now he lives forever. But he's also damned. And we do get him in Edwardian London. And he disguises himself as a doctor who's an expert on Egyptology. But yeah, I am excited to read this, and I was gonna read it for October, but like I said, I have all these other types of books I want to read, so maybe I'll go for a more spooky or scary theme next month. But Victober will be. Still want to do Victober, so we will see. And when I say like next October, I meant. There's that one, and then we have one that I started, and that is The Unconsolable by Kazuo Ishiguro. This one has very mysterious vibes. It's like this guy is a famous concert pianist, and he's gone to this hotel, and he has a big has a big concert that he's meant to perform in. but he keeps getting distracted by all these errands that people ask him to run, and like so far it's very weird because it feels like they're skipping ahead in time. He's skipping ahead in time because like I'll be in one position, and then all of a sudden like these other people he crossed paths will refer to him as their relationship with him, and he promised them something. It's very surreal. It's a very weird story, which I feel like that's what he does, like Kazuo Ishiguro does. I've only read Never Let Me Go by him. I've never read The Rains of the Day, but I do have the movie adaptation of that one with Anthony Hopkins. But I mean, it does say one of those sentences says character study of a man whose public life has accelerated beyond control. And he's trying to figure out his past. And I'm wondering, and it's like, but he's still very confused. I wonder if this is a commentary on how sometimes people will just breeze through their life and just not stay in the moment and appreciate the moments, this little moments in their lives. I wonder if it's commentary on that. But I am on chapter 10 of this, so I figured let me pick this book up and continue. And I really like it. I like Kazuo Ishiguro's writing style, at least in this book. I don't remember how it was in Never Let Me Go, but I like Never Let Me Go, but I didn't love it. And I remember being very confused by that one and not even understanding what was revealed at the end. I was very confused by that, the ending of it. But yeah, like I said, I only have the remains of the day, the adaptation. I've never read the story, the book, so. But I wanted to. This is one of the ones where I've already started it and I want to read it before one of the other people that I know that loves Kazuo Ishiguro gets to it first. Because I feel like if someone reads a book that I'm excited to read, all of a sudden it will take away my discovering the book and being like, oh, I read this book, and feeling kind of proud that I got to read the book first before someone else read it and got to talk about it, and then it takes away the specialness for me. So I want to make sure I read this before any other fans of his get to, at least the ones I know. Because I'm sure this book has been read by others, obviously. I mean, there's reviews on Goodreads. But the people I watch on BookTube that are fans, I want to get to it before they do. Which I know is kind of silly, but like I said, I feel like it kind of potentially takes away my discovery of it. Because all of a sudden I'm hearing other people's points of view. Which, yeah, I don't have to watch their review of a book, but, I'm just weird like that. Okay, and then we have, this one should be in the other pile of books that I probably won't really finish. But this is The Revolution of Me and Marina M. I keep saying I'm going to read it. And what reminded me of this book, what motivated me to remember to get to it is because, again, Steve Donahue, one of the BookTube princes or kings or whatever, he blurbed it. So I'm like, and I remember commenting on his video and saying, being very excited and being like, oh, I have a book that you blurbed. I don't know if you remember, and commenting. And he liked it. He liked my comment. I don't remember if he responded with verbally or not, but yeah. So it was one of these things where I felt like I need to read it. And I still haven't read it yet. And I didn't realize that this is the author of White Oleander. And I remember when that movie came out, my mom read the book and we watched the movie, or she watched the movie. At the time I wasn't as interested in it, but I remember it. So there's another reason why I'm being like, oh, this was written by them. So the same author. So this is another one I want to get to, but this one really probably should be in the pile of books that I could start, but barely finish. But I will not finish it, or maybe not even get at the halfway point. So that is this, The Revolution of Marina M, a rich woman that gets involved in the revolution because she's not satisfied with her life. So there's that. And then we have a recent purchase, and that is Demon Copperhead, which is a loose retelling of David Copperfield. This is about a boy that comes from a poor family. His mom was a teenager when she had him, and it's about his life, and it's a coming of age story, and just like David Copperfield. And I have attempted to read one of her other works, The Poisonwood Bible. At the time, I decided the book wasn't for me. I did look for that book, but I didn't see it there. So maybe it's not come back there. I mean, I think I've seen it there before recently, but at the time I'm still not interested. And then I bought this one at Target recently, and so you guys probably saw that. But yeah, I want to read this one, and I don't know why. It's probably just more that I just bought it, but I want to read it in November as well. I mean, all these books I want to read in November. So there's that one. And then we have, this one actually should probably go in the pile of books that I don't know if I'll finish or not, but The Emperor of Ocean Park. You guys know I started this in September. This is about, this family, this black family. Their dad is a conservative judge, and he just died, and his daughter thinks he was murdered, and so our narrator, who is his son, who is also a law professor, I think. Right. Yeah, a law professor. He is kind of starting to wonder if his sister might be right, and that their dad might have been murdered, and it's about him figuring it out, but at the expense of his career and his family, his relationship with his wife and son. So I've already started it, like I said, in September. So we've been introduced to the characters and kind of get the idea of the family and the dynamics between all the family members. And you also find out that they had another daughter in the family, and that she was a teenager when she died. And something happened to her, like maybe she got murdered. And it kind of messed with the family a little bit, and so now, of course, like I said, this is about a black family, so unfortunately that does mean we are dealing with racism in the story, and very much sadly casual racism in the story. And even our main character, our narrator, he's a law professor, and you find out he does have to kind of deal with people. He does talk about that he feels like in his office, in his community, that there are groups of other professors that kind of don't they have their own little clique, in that people like our narrator, Talcott, are not involved because he is a black man. So there's a lot of issues, and the fact that they are a rich family, and that they're as well, I think that comes into play as well. So, and this is very interestingly written. This is very well written. I liked what I read so far of it back in early September, so I want to come back to it. Which, that's the other thing. That's, as I always say, I always think, I should also look into books that I've started to read and I made progress in, and pick those up first. But then I always get excited about my new books, so there's that as well. Okay, and then we have Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is, I think, her second book that she wrote. I think she published this after the Poppy War trilogy. So this deals with colonialism and translation. There is a little bit of a magic system, but I'm told that it's not as big of a magic system as in the Poppy War, where there was people getting possessed with gods and god power and everything. This one, the magic is a little more subtle, I think. And this was another one that I did start reading, and I made some, read a little bit of it, but I haven't continued with it. And, you know, this is definitely a good dark academia kind of book. I do want to read her other book, Yellowface, which is a more contemporary story, but I haven't got it yet. I haven't got around to it. So either I might get on Kindle, or sorry, this stupid sun is in the way. Either get this on via Kindle, Yellowface on Kindle, or get it from the library, because I don't know if I want to buy it, because, you know, I mean, but anyway, so I do want to read this, and this is also probably would have been a good book for October if I wanted to do like a dark academia thing, which I did try to do, I think last year or the year before. So there's that as well, and hopefully I didn't, you know, it's still, you know, the page is marked on Goodreads, because I lost the bookmark, fell out at some point. Okay, and then we have, okay, so this is a more recent purchase earlier this year, and that is The Overstory by Richard Powers. I kept looking at this one at the library, but it's a chunky book, and it's a very slow going book. But I think there is this kind of looks at the forest and earth and respecting Mother Earth and everything. And there's like little stories, vignettes in this. It's not one big story, or it's a bunch of like little stories within one story or something like that. I did start reading it. I don't remember, so I'm gonna have to reread it to, you know, because I don't remember what happened. But I remember Richard Powers just did publish another book, and I don't remember what that one is about, but it focuses on another part of the environment, because I think he's a naturalist and an environmentalist. But I remember this was a book by that was also that what is her name? The actress who played Daenerys, and she also played in Me, the main woman in Me Before You. I cannot remember her name. And she also did a Christmas movie too. This was her favorite book as well, supposedly. So, and because of the cover, it felt the forest and everything, it felt very autumnal, so I'm thinking about getting to this one as well. And again, the stupid sun. That's the problem with filming like right here where my window is, because the sun is shining right there, and it's very annoying. But, you know, I don't want to get up and move it. So, but anyway, so there's that one. And then we have, okay, so this one I was debating to put in the pile of books that I probably won't finish. It probably should go in that pile, this last 3 set of books. But we have The Talisman. This is a Stephen King book that he wrote with Peter Straub. I think this is a coming of age story, and this is this boy trying to find this talisman to help his sick mom, and he travels through all these different worlds, and he's being, you know, and I think he's being chased by someone evil, and so it's a bit of a fantasy book. And there's a sequel called Black House that I haven't bought yet, but I want to. But yeah, this premise sounded really fun. I mean, but most of his premises sound really fun and interesting. And I am interested because he wrote this book with this other author, so I'm curious how that works. I would be interested to know how that works. But yeah, so this is another one I want to read as well. Like I said, it was between this one and Fairy Tale. I decided I would take Fairy Tale for December. Okay, and then we have these two. This is the first book in the the Dandelion Dynasty, and it's Asian-inspired fantasy world. A lot of people feel like this first book was very much more of a prologue. And I also, like, I got book 3 before we left for London, and my uncle was visiting because he was gonna watch Murphy, and we went with him to the bookstore because my dad has 2 books out, by the way, Shadows of Saigon and The Sage Among the Pines. Sage Among the Pines is a bit of a coming of age story, and Shadows of Saigon is a war story and a bit of a romance and is a bit of a young adult story. And so my dad had a book, I don't know if it wasn't a book signing, but it was a book talk talking about his 2 books and everything. It was allowing people to ask questions and everything. We were at the bookstore, one of my favorite bookstores, the Country Bookshop. So I went ahead, and Mom was like, "Are you gonna buy anything or what?" And so I bought the 3rd book, and I was kind of telling my uncle how, with series, I debate about buying books from the series, and I want to buy, and trying to decide, oh, maybe I should wait and not buy any more books right now. And, and the problem with series is that I end up, I try to buy them when I can. Sometimes I don't always get them, and it's like a year or 2 before I can get the next book. And so series, I drag them out without meaning to. So when we got back from London, my uncle surprised me with having bought the 4th book. And he asked me about it, what the 4th book was, and I pointed it out to him. And, I was just talking. I didn't intend for him to do that. So I thought that was really sweet that he bought me. So now I have no excuse. But since I have all the books, I need to start reading this book. The Grace of Kings. And then, Terry had got me the Pillow book about court life in Japan. So it's about what Dental Genji is about. And, I remember her saying, "This is really good." Or she saw that I had that on my wish list on Amazon, and she was like, "That is a really good book." And she ended up being the one that bought it for me. And this is a woman's perspective of court life. And I thought pairing these 2 together might be good. So, I could save these for January, and, I do want to reread, now that I have some history of the Philippine Islands stored in my memory. I figured maybe I would reread, what is that book called? The History of the Philippines. No, not that. Noli Me Tangere, by Rizal. Rereading that one. I cannot believe I couldn't think of that title. Rereading that one now that I have history, more knowledge through reading the history of the Philippines. Although, I don't know, maybe I should reread the chapter on the Spanish Inquisition, Spain taking over. Reread that part. Now that I've read, before I reread Noli Me Tangere. But, yeah, so I might at least start this one. I don't know if I'll start this one or not, but we will see. It's very hard for me to decide. That's the problem. Okay, now we are on the pile of books that I definitely maybe I can dip my toes in them, but I probably won't finish them. Which really, those 2 should be part of that pile. So first, I brought this book with me this is one of the books I bought in London. And, actually I have 2 of the, wait, I might have put that one back. Yeah, I think I put that one back. But, the other book, yeah, that's right, I put it in the pile for Big Epic Fantasies that maybe I'll read in December. But I bought 2 books while I was in London, and one of them was The Dragonbone Chair, and then the other one was this one, Vanity Fair, the English Penguin Library editions. So basically this is the paperback version of those cloth-bound books, cloth-bound editions. And I have some of those as well because I really love those editions because I like the covers, which I guess I could, instead of getting those, I could always get these. But I already bought those. I'm not gonna get rid of them because they're too pretty and I like them. But I brought this one with me, and both those books with me when we went to visit my sister earlier this month. And I ended up not getting to them. I dipped my toes in both of them. I made more progress in that one than this one. But like, this is supposed to be like about these two best friends, Becky Sharp and Amelia, and Becky is a manipulative, spoiled little brat who constantly gets her way. And it's her relationship with Amelia, and and I'm guessing it gets messy. And I did start it, obviously, but I have not finished it. Let me rephrase that. I started it, and I don't expect to finish it, and just only make some progress in November. But anyway, so I want to dip my toes in this one. This one was also Kim from Middle of the Book March planned on reading this for October as well, and that's kind of why I was even more inspired to it. And now I bought it. I feel like because she is reading it, I feel like I should pick it up. That is what I run into all the time. Like, a booktuber will mention a book that I've been meaning to read that they're currently reading, and all of a sudden I'm like, I want to read that one now. Okay, so there's that one, and then we have The Golden Notebook by Doris Lessing. This is about a woman who, I think she is, she's like losing her mind. I think she might, I'm wondering if she's supposed to have dementia. And, she has these 4 notebooks, this series of different color notebooks. One, she keeps her diary. One holds her experience in Africa, her experiences when she was visiting Africa. And one is a novel, and one is about her feelings on communism. So I'm guessing she comes from a communist country. And, like, one records her political life. And one is about a heroine that gets to relive her own experiences, a part of her own experience. So, she decides to put them all in one notebook. And, so this was about her putting all these notebooks together into one notebook. And to preserve everything, preserve all of her stuff. And this just sounded like a really good, heart-wrenching read. And like I said, I recently just bought it, so I was all of a sudden like, I want to read it right now. So and the concept was really interesting, that she has all these different notebooks that all have different aspects of her life in them, and wanting to combine them in one thing. And I kind of relate to the fact that I personally have a lot of notebooks, and a lot of them have different things in them about my life and my thoughts and stuff like that. I mean, most of it's more like lists and ideas and everything, but still, I have a lot of notebooks too. So it just sounded like such a compelling narrative. So I wanted to read this one as well. And then we have the last one, and like, again, this is another one that probably will maybe only make a dent on it. So the last one is one that's probably perfect for October to read, but I doubt I'll finish it. I mean, it is a big boy, and that is The House of Leaves. My original intent was not to even bother with this, but I was watching Emmy's video where she was talking about reading this book, and I saw it one day at the bookstore at Givens, actually, because I was not going to buy it for $20 to $30 at Books A Million, or Barnes & Noble, so it was there at the roast stop at Givens, so I grabbed it. I was like, let me try this out. And And I think it's a case study of basically this family's experience in a haunted house. And actually, I think it was last night, there was a video. I didn't click on the video, but was a review of this. And by the still image and the image that you see when you first look at the video before you actually click on it, looked like the person, it was going to be a negative review. That the person didn't think the book was all that great. But I'm going to read it. And it doesn't seem like it's, you know, because the way it's written, it seems like it's going to be very interesting to read. So I want to try it, at least. I mean, obviously I did start. And so far, you know, nothing's seriously wrong with it. It's a very interesting story. And I like that it's basically like a case file. Kind of like The Woman in White. You know, the way it's written. Although it's a little more... That one's written more like a novel, while this one looks like it is generally written like a case study. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. The light is getting in the way. Like, the sun is directly at an angle where my camera is. So it's like shining on the... You can see it behind me. So it's really annoying. This is why filming, like, spooky, fun stuff is not... Which reminds me, I want to do a video where I read another short horror work, like Poe's work or something. Anyway, so those are the books I'm thinking about for November. So least like options. So are you guys already thinking about November reading, or are you a lot smarter than I am and probably not planning your reading right now? Because it is still the middle of October. I would love to know. And also, how's your reading going? Your October reading going? Are you participating in October? And if so, what are you reading for Victorian Literature Month? And, or other than just, what are you reading in general? Are you reading anything spooky for this month because it is spooky season? Or maybe you're not reading anything spooky. Maybe you're just reading whatever. I would love to know. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Click subscribe if you hadn't. Click the bell notification below if you want to be updated when I post new videos. And I hope you are enjoying your reading, whatever it is you are reading. And I will talk to you all later. All right, bye!